No, but I'm told I am.
That's how the question came about, because you've been around for quite a while. So.
Well, our Prime Minister refers to me as an icon of New Zealand.
In the New Zealand music scene?
No, but I know I am because my Prime Minister's told me, and no, I do. I'm very. You get older and you realise that you have actually played a part in shaping the landscape of New Zealand music to an extent, with hit records and stuff, with a couple of bands. And shall I close that door right now?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Would you consider yourself a legend in the New Zealand music scene?
Because of my years and because I'm still doing it, and because my Prime Minister's told me so, yes. But time is what makes all that, I feel, you know. And when I do songs that we recorded, when I was young, I see the effect that they have. I see people still remember the lyrics, and so you know, I'm grateful for that, quite frankly. And you know, I realise I played a part in shaping the landscape of New Zealand music from the '60s, anyway, with my band, the Rebels. Not so much now, because the older you get, the less influence you have.
What was it like to jam with Mark Knopfler?
Lots of fun, but I discovered a couple of things with Mark. There's no doubting he's an amazing guitar player, but he's out of his league when he's having a blow with you and your band. When we had a blow, they did a Dire Straits song to have a blow on, which really says it all for my money. But no, wonderful player, and it was great to just sing with him, you know, on a song that he's there.
What would you prefer to do? Work and record in the studio, or perform live?
Perform live, anytime.
What would you say is the best thing about performing live?
The instant gratification and reaction, and it's just a better vibe. You know, you're playing with your mates, and you're creating together right there and then in an audience, with an audience, and it's very special, and the studio's a whole different trip. I enjoy studio recording, and I enjoy the recording art. I do, but the question was what I prefer live anytime.
Do you feel New Zealand music is stronger now than when you first started out?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. We have an industry now. We didn't used to really. We used to think we did, but since the New Zealand government picked up the Irish blueprint and ran with it about 8 years ago, I think the proof is in the pudding. We're generating an enormous amount of money with New Zealand music now. That is the difference, and Ray for Helen Clark and the Labor government for that, because I don't follow any specific party. I'm not politically inclined. I've got a lot of respect for Winston Peters, and I've got a lot of respect for John Tamahiri. They're both friends of mine. Well, John is not so much Winston, he's an acquaintance. But I have great respect for those guys, but I'm not politically inclined. But under the Labor government, the arts have improved a hell of a lot.
What are your thoughts on the New Zealand music scene now compared to when you started out?
Mainly that we actually have a big industry now. We always had stars, the Lee Grants and the La-Di-Das, the Rebels, the Avengers, Quincy Conserve, and I could go on all day about bands from that era that are great bands that have made their mark. But you know, we have people now that are getting record deals that wouldn't have got deals. People like Greg Johnson, to a lesser extent Brooke Fraser. These artists, it's good to see. There's always been that happening, but not so much as now. And it's all changing, of course, with the record companies have a lot less influence, and it's really moving that way.
chance to go back in time and repeat your musical career over again, would you take that chance?
I wouldn't do anything different. I always wanted to be a musician and a singer in a band. My dream came true, and you know, oh, lovely. It's good on the ears. Yeah, so no, I wouldn't do anything different. I'd still be in a rock and roll band.
Here's a strange question. When you're in a music store, do you get the urge to check if they have any of your CDs and stuff?
Of course, of course. I've got an ego like anyone else. Of course, I check to see.
Do you ever check eBay or Trade Me for any of your rarities?
Yeah. I found a guy selling a study in black for $100 in Australia, Raven Records, which was a surprise to me. I wonder how much of that 100 I'll get.
If you had to pick a song of your signature, what should it be and why?
Do what you got to do, because I've had other people who I really respect their views, Richie Pickett, Doug Thomas, Murray Brindley. They've all said to me that's a wonderful vocal performance, and I think from the 60s, I think it's the best track I did. It was a great song, Jimmy Webb, who wrote all the Glenn Campbell stuff at the time, the Fifth Dimension stuff. Great writer, and great song, and you know, we had a smash hit with it, #1 for 6 weeks, and gold disc winner, Loxine gold disc. I mean, you know, big record for us, and played a big part of my life, and my favourite recording of the Rebel stuff for sure.
What was it like to win the Loxine golden disc?
I'm not really into awards. It really didn't bother me. It was just, oh yeah, Mum will love this, and I'll give it to my mum, which I did. I don't have any of my records. We had golds and silvers, and in Australia we had a couple of. Well, I don't have any of that stuff. I've never been collecting awards, frankly.
What are your thoughts on New Zealand Idol?
You don't really need to hear. I think it's a lot of nonsense, manipulative, orchestrated. The people that got it started and got it rolling were only interested in one thing, making money, and weren't interested in the talent. They weren't interested in the people, caring about the people, and those people now have just been left out to pasture. I think it's disgusting, and I think New Zealand Idol is disgusting for it.
In your opinion, what do you think makes New Zealand music stand out from, say, music from America?
Well, we have our own sound. We have our own. We have our own sound. I know a New Zealand band. We come from a different space rhythmically, and you can hear it. You can hear it, you know. And I've played all over the world with American players and English players. But, I love playing with Kiwis. They're as good as anyone in the world, and we have our own thing here. We can be very proud of it.
What would you consider a classic New Zealand song?
I think Corbin Simpson singing the Bureta song, Dance All Around the World. I voted that as my #1 song. I didn't think nature was. I mean, I know those guys from the Foolia, and I know Wayne Mason, and here's the Wayne, he's a great writer, but that wasn't, for my money, the greatest New Zealand song. Come Dance All Around the World is a lot better for my money.
Who are some of your favourite New Zealand bands?
Hammond Gamble is one of my favourite. Brazier. I have great admiration for those guys. Ricky May was my favourite New Zealand performer when I was growing up and learning the art. Tommy Adderley, they're giants as far as I'm concerned, those guys. And in today's world, I've got a lot of time and great admiration for Dave Dobbin and Neil Finn, who I I think Dave and Neil are the best writers that we've had in the last 50 years myself. They just write wonderful pop songs, and they're both as good as each other as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that's my sort of take on what's happening with New Zealand players. I respect all of them. You know, Dave Dolan supported me, my band Shotgun, for a couple of years when he had the dudes, and I used to see these young guys and thinking, shit, you know, they're 10 years old. I'm 60 now, so I think Dave's I think he just turned 50, so they're a generation younger than me, like Adderley and the Meteors and Columbus and the Invaders were the generation before me, you know. But yeah, I've got a lot of respect for those guys, Dave and Neil particularly.
What was the last New Zealand album you bought?
I bought Neil Finn's record, and I bought, actually that's not right. The last New Zealand record I bought was Suzanne Lynch's new album for BMG, which Neil Finn's written a couple of songs for her on. And it's a wonderful, wonderful record, and Susie's a dear friend of mine, and in fact she's another one who's had an effect on my life musically. She's in there with Neil and Dave and Tommy and Ricky and what was this guy? Morris, Kevin, they're good old mates, and he's a monstrous talent, you know.
What was it like to get together and do the best of the best of Johnny, Shane, Sharon, Shane?
Oh, it was a lot of fun, a hell of a lot of fun, but we didn't get long enough on stage. It was, you know, 4 songs, 2 songs in each half. You know, I like to get on there and do a couple of hours at least, you know. So from that perspective, it was bloody boring, but from an enjoyment perspective and reaction and bums on seats, I mean, we sold out everywhere, so it was very well promoted.
How did the concert come about?
Ian McGann and Gray Bartlett and me and Shane sitting around talking after we did Rotorua, that big by the lake there, it's about 4 or 5 years ago. We all got on the Terps after that gig in the green room later, and you know, why don't we go on the road with these same sort of people, Johnny and he said, what a great idea, we'll call it Best of the Best. Shit, let's do that. So we did. 3 years later we were on the road together doing that show, yeah.
Would you do it again if you were asked?
I believe we are doing it again, and I have been asked, yeah. I don't know when, but Johnny's had a lot of good press lately, so it'd be a good time to do it with him getting there in Australia to the Hall of Fame and the New Zealand Hall of Fame, and it'd be a good time to do it, yeah.
Now, this next question, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but can you tell me about the Apple incident with Howard Morrison? What were you thinking and what were the repercussions?
We were doing a show called Come On, a television show, and it went out every night at 6 o'clock live, and on Monday, we had Monday off, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we were rehearsing the show that you're going to do the following week. And on the Friday, Saturday, you rehearse the show right up until 5 o'clock, and then you have an hour stand down, and you've done the last rehearsal in full costume. So you have a half an hour stand down, and when we were in the production room getting all the schedules for what we're going to be doing in 2 weeks. On the schedule is a thing special guest artist Howard Morrison song Born Free, and I looked at this and I said, well, what the fuck? And Kevin Moore, the director, said, what's wrong, Larry? And I said, how does this fit into psychedelia? How does this fit into the New Zealand top 10? Fuck, this is not right. What it was the old boy network working, and it's Benny Levin who was managing the quartet, and Howard had gone solo, and it was Benny being Benny Levin and being a good manager. He you know, have a talk on the Terps with Kevin Moore, and so let's get Howard in there, you know. Because Come On was rating, I mean everyone was watching it, and well, in the between Studio One where you're doing this filming, and Studio 2 was a big fire doors, and they had a piano, an upright piano this side of the fire doors. And when we came in, and I'm still fuming about this because I'm a very hot-headed 22-year-old or something, and so I'm thinking this is not right, and I'm complaining to my mates on the show, you know, this is a lot of shit, Howard, doing this. What the fuck is this really about, you know? And then I see this apple that it was a beautiful big Granny Smith, and it was going a little bit yellowish to the bottom right-hand corner, and I said to Shane and Ray Wolf, which is my mistake, because once you tell your mates you're going to do something, you're sort of committed, aren't you? You know, if you've got any balls anyway. And so I said to them, as I say, big mistake, if that fucking Howard Morrison is doing this show, I'm going to get him with that fucking apple. It should be nice and brown by then, you know. Not really thinking anything more about it. So anyway, this apple does over the 2 weeks, and Howard does, and he's there at rehearsal, and I'm, you know. And so when we went live to air, I remember this vividly. I pulled these fire doors that were closed. I pulled them open, and I'm now looking at the set through a gap about this wide. And I saw Howard, and then I opened them up a little bit more, about this wide, to where all I could see down my channel of line of sight was Howard behind the band, and Howard was elevated above the piano player. And I grabbed this apple, mate, and I went woof, and I threw the best throw I've ever thrown in my life, Murphy's Law, and it went and exploded all over him. And he didn't skip a beat, he just wiped it off his chin and off his tie and finished the song. And then I heard in the cans, as the apple hit him, I heard in the cans, "Who the fuck threw that?" from the director. And then when they went to commercial break, which they were going to do anyway, directly at the end of that song, they went to commercial break. I hear Howard yelling, "Some fucker threw an apple at me," and a rotten apple at that. And then he was gone. And I don't know whether they whisked him away. I do know that I never heard a word about it from him again. But Kevin Moore's there, and he gathers everyone around, and he said, "I want to know who's responsible for that apple. And if whoever threw it doesn't have the balls to say it, I'm going to fire you all," which was my cue to say it was me. And he said, "You're fired," and I got fired, and that was it. I didn't do the show the following week. I was replaced by Ray Wolf. Yeah. No, Dick Roberts replaced me, yeah. And that was the end of me on TV for a while. Yeah.
Well, thanks for that.